Last Looks crew. Hola, hi, greetings, beautiful earthlings. Now, I know you've all seen that buzz cut wig featured on the last season of Stranger Things. And honestly, if you haven't, what? Are you living under a rock? It's okay if you haven't, but you should probably Google it now so we're all on the same page. Yeah? On the show today, I chat with hair designer Sarah Hindsgual. Sarah has done all the seasons of Stranger Things and is responsible for the incredibly well-executed buzz cut wig worn by Millie Bobby Brown, who plays 11 on the show. I have admired Sarah's work from afar and have wanted to chat to her for a while, so I'm super stoked to bring this episode to you today. Oh boy, guys, I hope I don't sound too tired. We're about to dig into our last week of shooting, and I will be honest, I am pretty worn down. I'm working on an exciting gig with fantastic people, thank goodness, but with an incredibly limited budget and like 30 days to shoot the entire film. The days become exhausting pretty quickly. So many scenes to get through every day with so many look changes and the constant time crunch pressure, the man-day conversations, the making turnarounds, the you must NDB, the good old we are going to do rolling lunches today, the night shoots, the splits, taking home wigs on the weekend so I can wash and reset them because Lord knows I don't have time for that during the week. It all adds up. But in saying that, of course I feel very lucky and very grateful to be working, especially while there is a writer's strike going on, and I look forward to getting the job finished and have a little downtime. I have so many little life things to catch up on. You got to stay conscious of that work-life balance. You know, all work and no play makes JL a dull girl. It really is something I hope people in our industry are working on. It's the little things like not feeling guilty if you aren't working. If you say no to day playing because you just need a little you time. Always remember you don't need a reason to say no. No is a complete answer. Are you available these dates to come and work on this project? Response: unfortunately, no, I'm not. Don't feel like you need an excuse or a reason. A polite no will suffice. And don't feel guilty about it. It's okay. You don't have to say yes to every single thing that comes in. I know it's different when you're starting out to when you're in your groove, to when you've been doing this for a few years, but you have to figure out that life-work balance. And the sooner you figure it out, the better off you're going to be. I know we all love our jobs, but we also love our lives. And a healthy balance is essential when working in such an all-absorbing industry. Anyway, that's my tired 2 cents. You can have it. That's enough bullshit from me anyway. My name is Jamie Lee. I'm a hairstylist from New Zealand, based in LA, and this is a show where I catch up with hairstylists and makeup artists working in the film and television industry around the world. Let's get into the good stuff and hear about Sarah's journey thus far as a hairstylist in this industry we love and adore.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Welcome to Day Rate Beauty, the only company to elevate and improve hair and bobby pins. Founder and 2-decade veteran celebrity hairstylist Aviva Perea has created 10 sophisticated, joy-sparking tones available in 5 shapes and sizes. To really catch the eye, Day Rate Beauty makes 14-karat gold oversized hairpins. Day Rate Beauty donates a percentage of each Power Pink sale to various organizations furthering the rights of women. Day Rate Beauty is the only company coating stainless steel pins in low-impact, plant-based nylon. All products are made in the USA using domestically sourced steel, and all packaging is compostable. Sustainability is truly at the core of their decision-making process. For the pros out there, Dayrate sells bulk pro packs. Just email hello@dayratebeauty.com for pricing. Happy pinning with Dayrate Beauty.
And now, our feature presentation.
Pictures up.
Last looks. Rolling.
And action.
Welcome to the Last Looks podcast, Sarah.
Thank you, Jamie.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm so glad that we finally made this happen. It's awesome. This is when our story time begins. I would like you to finish the sentence for me, okay?
Okay.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Sarah, and when she grew up, she wanted to be...
a hairstylist in movie sets.
You did? How did you know this?
There was three things I wanted to be. I wanted to be, and I don't know what that's called in English, but my first thing was I really wanted to go and find dinosaurs, and be a...
Archaeologist?
Yes.
Is that what it... Yeah.
I'm not even going to try to say that. Archaeologists. That was a big dream. I mean, but I got that from watching a lot of Indiana Jones, I think. And so it was actually kind of coming from movies, which is interesting. And then a little later, I actually started acting classes when I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Wow. So why did that happen? Like what made that?
I was kind of a shy kid, and I think my parents thought it was a way for me to open up and get a little more self-esteem.
Like, throw her on stage.
Yes, they were like, this will make her shine. So they wanted to build up my self-esteem. I think I was big on painting. I would spend a lot of time by myself painting, and it was a way for me to be a little more social, I think.
Did it help?
It helped. I loved it. I did not like acting, but the whole environment was amazing. I did love the feeling of being a part of a big team and how everybody needed to give everything. And you kind of was like relying on everybody doing their best to make this big thing come together. And I did love the dress up part. I loved, becoming different people and making other people different people. So I was in love in the whole transformation thing.
Yeah. I mean, what kid doesn't enjoy some dress up? I mean,
I think it's good for all kids, no matter what. But it was a pretty serious program. And a lot of my friends actually did became child actors, and we did end up on set. And at a certain point, I was like, I just didn't really, it seemed like that was like the way to do stuff. It was going into that direction. I was also considering psychology when I got a little bit older. Okay. And then when I was fairly young, my parents were very, very good at sitting with me and just talking about all, your different talents and working with me and figuring out pretty early what I liked. And the hairstyling seemed to be a mix between all of these different elements that I loved. And it was something I could use and stay in theater, or which it was more about theater for me at that point than film and television.
Right. So they were able to just help you and guide you and figure out what you enjoyed, and then think about the avenues of how you can do something artistic with your hands. Yeah. I mean, I love painting. I love the people, but I also love the solitude of being alone with the canvas. I think I need both. I think alone with a canvas is too much of it was too much solitude for like a lifetime. I imagine it would be actually. Yeah, I can understand why artists maybe go into teaching a little bit more and things like that, just so they can, have a community.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started. I think I started hair school in Copenhagen when I was 16. So I don't recommend this. Do not do that, but that's what I did.
You mean don't do that so young, or
stay in school, kids?
Right.
So I have some big kids. They's like, so what college did you go to? And what? I'm like, I didn't. I was very concerned about losing time when I was younger.
Yeah.
Like I had like a whole big plan at 15 somehow.
I got to get started.
And I felt like it was just a waste of my time. I wanted to go to college. because I actually loved going to school.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I was going to, I couldn't use it for anything for what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I went to hair school in Copenhagen. And at that time, I still think it is like that. In most places, it was a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
Where I did the same in Australia.
Yeah, I don't know about Australia, but I know when I left high school in New Zealand, I did like a 1 year. No, you're right.
Fuck that up.
I did a 1 year like full-time course, and then another I think it was like 2.5 years in the salon, but it was like an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So I was still training and having.
Did you go back and forth, or were you started in the school and then you did like 2.5 years in the salon after?
So it was just school, and then it was in the salon, and it was like 1 day a week I would go in to sit any exams or whatever I needed to do. But it was those 2.5 years in the salon was definitely up to my boss to teach me from there on out. Yeah. Right. Which luckily she loved to do that. So that was...
No, that's all about finding. I mean, it's very important you find the right place when it's that. It's a little bit different. I mean, we go back and forth. I think it's 6 months school, 6 months in the salon, 6 months in the school.
Oh, cool.
But I'm sure it's the same amount of hours in the end of the day, hours to work. And then you train with the salon, basically.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, it's a good schooling. That's also the first time I got introduced to, wigs and it's a very broad school in Copenhagen. So I think it's a little bit different than what I hear from my American friends. Like we had to take wig making. It was one of the classes that you had to go through.
That's incredible.
Yes,
it's weird so normal hairdressing school incorporates wigs.
You had to take period styling and you had to take wig making. So the first, I don't remember how many weeks you go to school the first time, but that was like you get the wig block, you nail in the, I don't know what it's called in English, but the little bands, and you do the stitching and the sewing, and you go to the salon, you work on that while you are in the salon, and then you bring your little wiglet back, and then you start attaching the lace. You do that for the next, and so you kind of go back and forth. So in your 4-year period, at the end of the 4-year period, you turn in your wig, your full wig that you have made over this time.
That's so extensive. So it's kind of them thinking about hair in all different areas. It's not just salon, because I know like my training was very salon driven, and it's not like salons were doing.
No, it's a little bit different.
So that's like covering with doing the period, and that's awesome. I
mean, I remember my year one. I was, I came in with really big dreams. I love period books about wardrobes and the 1600 with the big ship and So one of my first freelance projects when we went up into a test was to try to put this ship in somebody's hair.
Oh, awesome.
After I had done hair for like 5 months, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like this hanging ship. I didn't know how to make a foundation or how to attach anything, but it was very, doing those for, because I was so excited about these very massive visual things, I learned how to make, they taught me how to make the foundations and stuff at this school. And they also taught me that it was all made out of pieces. You need wigs and you need like wig pieces and extensions to make these big things. I thought it was just people's hair, like coming up in these waves. Like, you don't know. Like, I had no idea.
No, it's not until you try to do it and you're like, hang on a minute, I don't have enough hair.
There's no hair anywhere.
Nobody grows that much hair out of their own head. How do I? Oh, okay.
But School is really fun, isn't it? I mean, I wish I could go back and take the same classes again with the knowledge you have now. I guess there is a way to still go, but I mean, go and take classes, but classes are just so fun. It's so amazing to see how other people work. And every time I even at work, working with new stylists to see how they are going about their problem solving. I love that. I love that about being a team and listening to the other artists and picking up their good ideas and different ways of doing it. I think that is, that's where it's like so different than being a painter.
Yeah, so it's a good thing you aren't very solitary.
But we still, I think part of what I do love is I do love heavy wig shows. One of the reasons is that I really get to just sit with my wigs, sometimes all day. Yeah. I love just being alone in that trailer, and it's just me and the wigs.
Now listen, have you been busted talking to your wigs before?
Yeah, I love my wigs. I love the wigs.
I know. I've been busted a few times. It's normally when I'm when I'm having trouble with one and I'm like, listen, you just need to do what I tell you and we'll get on fine. And someone normally walks in the middle of me giving my wig talking to.
They're all naked with the wig. Yeah. It's also, you can, I can fuck up with my wig, and it doesn't judge me, and it doesn't put a timer on me, right? Like as soon as I love working with actors, but as soon as they get into the trailer, I also want them out of there in 30 minutes. I do not want them to hang out in the trailer. They don't really want to be in that trailer for more than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them do, but I do think, I work with a lot of people.
If somebody does want to be hanging out and there's a PA or an AD outside going,
right, exactly. They're like, these fuckers are on the clock. We need them back. Yeah, it is lovely that you can use hours with someone. It's also, most things are absolutely impossible if you're not using wigs, right? Like you can't do a wet set. Like you can't put people through these things. You can't change people's textures. I don't care how good you are at blow drying or, you have a texture, you have the amount of hair you have on your head. You can cheat stuff, you can put stuff into it, but you can't change coarse hair into being fine Scandinavian hair. Like it only a wig can take you there. And it is really amazing how you can transform people to anything when you have those. It gives us this amazing freedom. Yeah. Which I'm just, in love with wigs. That's why I think in love with the wig. This is what you're going to call this program.
Well, no, it's true, because you can totally, not only you can, but everybody involved, the actor, the director, everyone can lean into that character look way harder if it's not their hair that you're dealing with. Because they, you might want to do some crazy color or cut, and they're like, I don't want that in my real life. So they'll tend to be like, I'm not sure if I think that style's right for the character. It's just like, but if it's a wig, then they're like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's lean into it, because they get to take that off at the end of the day. And
but I also love that you can really protect people's own hair, and you can put a nice treatment in there. You know what I mean? Like you can give them something lovely to come home with. And also just protecting people's self, I think, is really important for them to, what I've noticed is like when they don't take it home with them, they take it off at night and they really get a break, right? They can really step out of their character. And as soon as we put them through hair and makeup, they transform and we can send them out. Yeah. And they, they deserve that break at night.
Yeah. They can fully just leave it in the trailer.
leave it with me. Yeah. And then I get my 4 hours to just sing for that baby.
That's awesome. So after you did your training back home, then how, because it sounds like you, at 15, you said that you had it all planned out. So did your plan go how you wanted it to? Right. Okay. So what happens next?
I came out of school. I really wanted to get into theater as an apprentice, but I was in Copenhagen, and there's very few theaters, and somebody told me there was like 2 things that actually had a hair and makeup artist. Everything else, they were just doing it themselves, and somebody was coming in for the day. They didn't have an apprentice. Like, there was nobody. Right. So they were like, there's this one guy, and he takes an apprentice every 10 years. And it's probably not going to be you,
It's very limited.
Not to be rough. But that was not me. So I already, when I was in school on the weekends, I started working for Elite Models. I was working, the hair salon I was attached to was really big on editorials and photo shoots. So I had done that simultaneously and was really into making editorial stories, right? So I was like, well, this is also really fun. Like, you plan out a whole little story, and then you go in and take all the photos. And I got to be very creative on these photo shoots. I was building up my editorial portfolio, and Elite Models started representing me as like the young hair, like it was hair and makeup, right? They were like the young new face hair and makeup artists that basically worked for free. That was me. Like, if somebody didn't have any money, I'd call Sarah. Like, I would be there for free on the weekends.
Yeah.
And that was fun. It was like Barbie dolls in the hair, dead birds, glitter thrown all over the place. I mean, just, when you're 18 or 19, it's very, very big.
Awesome.
It was very, very fun and very large. And then when I was graduating, I think I spent 3 months in the hair salon, and I knew I never ever went that route to stay in a hair salon. Like, so after 3 months, I was like, this was lovely. Yeah. Thanks for keeping me.
Yeah.
But I can't do it.
I remember thinking the same thing. It's so funny. I got to the end of like my apprenticeship. I think I did like a couple more years, and I was just like, oh, fuck me. I just can't walk into the same place every day and do the same kind of things. And it was just like, I just can't do it. I need more.
But they were like, but you're like part of the creative teams and you're doing photo shoots. And I was like, yeah, but during the day, I'm here making Mick Ryan haircuts, right? Like, how many, and also you can't, I was trying to explain to these clients, like, you can't get Mick Ryan's haircuts when your hair is like, when you have 2 feathers and it's straight. It looks horrible. Like, I can't do it. And I was like, I cannot, if they all wanted the same, highlights, and they all wanted the same haircuts, and and it was not, you're really there to facilitate, where they all really needed wigs. Oh my goodness. That's what they needed. So anyway, when I was done, I decided to go and take a loan in the bank and just go to New York City. Okay. Because, maybe I could. I wanted an agent, and I was like, I can live from doing editorials in New York City. Maybe I was 20. I don't know. Maybe I was 21. It was 4 years of school. It was somewhere. I was young. I could be. I don't know if I could even drink yet. You know what I mean?
Wow. So why New York and not London or Paris? Or
because New York was so much further away, and I was not allowed to be there.
That's awesome.
I was 20, and really stupid and silly. Yeah, I mean, why did I not go to London? I mean, now I'm like, what? Why would you not go to London? Why did you go to New York? It's so far away. I wanted to see the world also. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, again, part of I think how we probably both fell into these jobs, right? There's a lot of traveling, and I love that. I love seeing new things, and I love a good challenge. It felt like a really big challenge. I think the challenge, looking back, was a little bit ambitious, and it didn't really work out for me as planned.
But you still went to New York, and you've lived in New York.
Yeah, I did. And you know, David, they were really tough on me in New York City. They did not want to represent me. I wonder why. You know, I had these beautiful pictures with Barbie dolls and glitter, and you know, they felt like maybe that was a hard sell to their clients. I don't know. I also didn't really know my own limitations at the time. I think that takes a little while before you figure out, you know, who you are, and you know, maybe you're a little bit arrogant at 20.
I mean, God, you go through so much change from the beginning of your 20s to by the time you're 30, it's almost like you're a completely different human being.
Oh, yeah. So. I found a place that was ready to take me on as an assistant, right? So I shampooed hair as a salon is where I ended up to survive. So a lot of shampooing, and there was a lot of, I think I was in charge of cleaning the bathroom, and I also did the laundry. It was a very glamorous job, but I did end up actually learning a lot more than I thought I was.
That's good.
Yeah, because you know, I come from a small corner of the world where it's not super integrated. So, you know, New York City, we have so many different textures, people from all over the world. I come from Scandinavia. There's, you know, it's a lot of white pasty people in Scandinavia. So this was really, really good for me. Flowy, natural take on hair, and Americans are very, you know, in the beginning I was like, why do they all want to kind of look like old ladies? Like they want these like strict, smooth blow dries, and I was like, oh, this is still not my thing. Still not what I like to do. But you know, you gotta learn to do those blow dries. So I was definitely in American training for like a couple of years, where they took me through many more textures, also much more. I fell in love with curly hair in America, for sure, because you have so many different kind of curls and textures that I just had not seen where I came from.
That's awesome.
To the same extent. New ways of cutting, and I came from a very strict Vidal Sassoon background, so I also kind of just went into more of a Tony and Guide approach for a while, with a lot of loose free cutting, and I also used to like at least spend an hour, you know, with pinpoint bobs, and maybe an hour and a half, like where I you know, learned speed. I learned a lot about speed. Like I can do a haircut in 7 minutes now, you know, even though it was a very classy place I was working at. I learned really fast that you got to be able to go at it from a lot of different directions, which you know, I don't think I could survive in this industry if I couldn't do a haircut in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there is no hour and a half. Again, there is with me and the wig. I think my last wig that Rob did for me, I spent 8 hours on cutting her hair.
I always find it funny that, like, normally when I'm talking to production and I'll be like, okay, well, I need to pick the wig up on this day, and you know, so I can test it on this other day, and they're like, well, can't you just pick it up and do the test on the same day? It's just like, no. I'm sorry. Has anybody told you that it doesn't arrive finished?
Yeah, no.
It's like I have to beat it into submission, like in the nicest possible way. You know, right. I need some time with it first. It doesn't just come ready.
No, they think it comes like, you know, but so many people get surprised. They're like, well, they don't come with the cut. And I was like, no, most of the time, like, you cut it. A lot of times I go back and I color it myself also, you know, like I permed them. Like I do a lot of stuff to these wigs. Like you have a lot of communication with your wig maker, obviously, and you get it as close as possible. But as soon as you put it in front of camera, a lot of stuff changes, obviously. And you're like, well, this, you said you see the filters that they're putting over, like it changes the colors. Like you need to be able to go in and change these wigs like the day off sometimes, where I'm like, it needs to be lightened. Like I can't see it. Yeah. It doesn't pop enough, like especially just the ends and stuff. I'm sure you've been there with them.
Always the little adjustments that are happening.
Well, sometimes I take
dimension, give it this, give it that. Yeah,
my boyfriend comes home and he's like, oh, and he screamed like a couple of years ago, and I just had like lots of wigs lined up at the dining table. You know what I mean? He was like, "What are you doing? Why are you don't take your work home?" And I was like, well, you've got, there's no, I'm sorry, I have to. Like,
welcome to my career.
It's like, the hair in the kitchen, like why? I'm like, well, I eat the hair. And like, I'm so over it. If I find a big hair in my spaghetti, I just swallow. Like, I'm like, you gotta get used to it. There's going to be hair in everything.
Yeah. Sarah, as we speak currently in my dining room, there are 6 wigs that I'm trying to sort out for tomorrow. So yeah, I'm there with you. I understand.
Yeah. It's not easy for dating, but eventually somebody will agree, to live with all of the hair.
I mean, it's really not that bad. It's just hair. Everyone's got it. Well, most people have got it.
I was just kidding. Yeah.
So, what happens then? So you end up going to New York. You're like, I have to make some money. So you end up assisting, and turns out you learn a whole bunch of stuff, which is awesome. How do you get back out of the salon again? I'm sure that you didn't want to
I was
stay
miserable.
forever.
I was very, very miserable in the hair salon, but I could also understand it was either that or it was like eating it and going back home and say it didn't work out. So I was also, it was hard for me to face that it was not going like, as when I waved goodbye in the airport. So I just kind of, it was a lot. I actually, this is a crazy part. I felt pregnant in the middle of that and had my firstborn very, very early in my life, and ended up staying at home with him for a year.
Yeah.
So those early 20s, I was so... Let me think. It's so many years ago. I kept doing music videos.
Oh, cool.
And I was doing the editorials. But, it's not cool when you're 22 and you're at a photo shoot and you're puking in the bathroom, like, and everybody else is going to go and do cocaine at some party. And you're like, I'm having a baby. And people are just like, okay, but maybe we need another hairstylist for the next shoot.
Listen, I'm sure you weren't the only woman in her early 20s that getting pregnant.
New York is not, you wait till you're 40 for those children. But I didn't. I ended up having 2 kids in my early 20s, which I'm very happy about, obviously. But it's also a very crazy thing to do in our industry, right? So when my daughter was 2, I was like, okay, I gotta go and do this. I went on Craigslist, and there was some very sketchy job shooting in Connecticut that I think I did I did all my work, all the weird music videos, any personal photo shoots, all of this stuff. I was earning money through Craigslist, basically. Craigslist listening, if you wanted to pay me $250, I would show up, right?
Yeah.
I got my first real feature. Like I did a lot of shorts, student films. I worked tons for NYU.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, for years actually. And those guys became my best friends, and it taught me a lot about filmmaking too. And they really took me in at NYU. They're very, very sweet. I kind of belonged to a certain class, the class of that year, and I followed them until they graduated, and I did a lot of their graduation movies. And our job on those student films is like the only job where you actually get paid anything. And I had to get paid a little bit because I was also taking care of 2 kids at the same time. So I also had to have a babysitter, and it was all just kind of barely going around. Like it wasn't going around. I don't know. We were eating a lot of spaghetti, I think. And
you gotta do what you gotta do.
They were happy. They survived somehow.
Exactly.
And my first job, there was not a student film job, was up in Connecticut, where I went and I lived up there for 6 weeks. And that just blew my mind. I was like, whoa, this is, shooting 16. I think sometimes we were shooting. It was non-union. There was one day we shot 24 hours. You know what I mean? Like they were just like, and you still get paid like $175.
Yeah. Like,
and I was like, isn't this like 2 days maybe? And they're like, no, because you never went to sleep. And I was like, okay.
You're like, actually, I did. I closed my eyes for those 2 seconds, and that was my sleep.
So then slowly you get a resume, right? But also I have to say all these movies are, really, really brilliant. You got it. For me, it was really important. I played a lot. There was a lot of falling. There's a lot of stuff I hope nobody will ever see.
I'm pretty sure we've all got those on in our past. I don't think that's just all part of learning and growing and
right. It's perfect. It's a perfect playground. I mean, the only thing that's really hard of loving wigs and pieces was that there's no budgets. So I used to go on eBay and buy vintage pieces, and I tried to sew them together like wiglets and stuff from the 60s with like way too much hair. You know what I'm talking about? They're dense. Yeah. It's not something you can just put on somebody. When you're talking these student movies, they were doing the 40s, they were doing the 20s. Like they have no, you just go for it. So I would say yes to anything. There was a period movie over something that's contemporary. Always. I love doing period work. I just find it so fun. And then I would sit at home at night and just sew stuff together. And I call them like Frankenstein wigs, when it's like made out of 5 different things and you style it in a way that maybe you can get away with it. If there's also a scarf attached in all the right places.
Yeah. Just going to hide this little edge here and do this.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Then you color correct it a little bit. It's all kind of the same brown, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, coming up and doing stuff like that and troubleshooting and figuring all those things out with no money, it's like the minute someone gives you a little bit of a budget, you're just like, oh my God, do you know what I can do with this?
I mean, it's like the birds at shipping, right? You're like, oh my. I mean, but I still, every time a wig maker, I open that box and you have a real wig in the box. It doesn't matter how many I have gotten. It's like Christmas every time you open that
it's the
box.
real deal, baby. It's the real deal.
I'm like, I will always be thankful. It was so many years of like gluing it together myself at home that you really appreciate it.
There's nothing like a custom-made wig, that's being built the way you want it built.
But
it's
also,
like, I mean,
it just makes it so much easier. I was like, wow, and look like I know what I'm doing suddenly, right? Like, maybe I'm not faking it. Maybe it's real. I don't know. I still don't know. I still, every day I'm like, no, they all know that this is just something I would love to do. But I am amazed that they're giving me any money for it. Every time they put me on an airplane, I'm like, are you guys sure?
Oh my God, it's so hilarious. Like, what is wrong with us as a group of individuals that we constantly have imposter syndrome?
I know.
I feel like I'm just constantly questioning, like, do I even know what I'm doing?
Right. I'm 30 years in and I'm still just like, it can't meet. Like every time I get a job, I'm like tears in my eyes, I'm like, are you sure you didn't make a mistake? It's
oh my God.
Yeah. It's why is that? But I think it's an artist thing, maybe, right?
It must be. I don't know. I'd love to get to the bottom of it because it's just, I mean, it's good. I think it keeps you grounded, but also it is some type of weird self-doubt constantly, which can't be great.
But sometimes I think it gets used, right? Like you wake up, like I have it mostly when I go to bed at night, when I just start, I can't sleep. And my brain just doesn't stop. And
because any minute Sarah's going to be found out that she doesn't have a clue what she's doing, even though she does know exactly what she's doing.
Is there a better way to do it, Jamie? Is there a better way to attach
Is
it the right wrap to put underneath this wig? Or is there something that could be more flattering?
It's good to keep asking those questions, though.
Right? I'm like, where should the first bobby pin go in? Because the better I get, the more I realize I'm still learning, right? So
constantly.
I've been having, I was doing this buzz cut wig on Stranger Things where I was like, well, that's a fun challenge, that one. And I've gone through a couple, I don't think I would actually be brave enough to say I could do that, but I had gone through a personal tragedy in my own life. And, I was really, empty. And I felt very brave because of it.
You're like, bring it on. Let's do this.
They were like, it's probably not a good idea. The whole world is going to see this. And if it doesn't look, you might never work again. And
there is always that possibility. But
I was like, I don't care. My life is over anyway. I'm in so much pain. So maybe they all should just laugh at me. And I think I'm going to go for it. I have nothing to lose.
Well, I mean, this is a perfect example of taking the leap and I just see what happens. And it was successful. So wham, bam. Amazing.
Right. There was
You're like, thank God.
Wham, bam. Almost did it by myself. I would love to say I did that by myself. I recruited every single friend I have on that one. I was like, can I talk with you about something? Can I ask you a few questions?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if this is possible, but I do have a feeling it could be possible. Yeah. I think I can do it, but I don't know. I don't know if you can do it, if it's a real thing. But, it taught me a lot about where you put those French pins in really matters. It's a whole mathematic buildup of how a construction goes on got really challenged on that one, and which I really loved. It was the biggest puzzle anybody have ever given me. And it was so fun until the day of the camera shoot. It was so fun to play with this until the day of the camera test. Yeah. And I was like, oh, no.
Oh, this is the day. This is the day whether I'm fired or whether I'm staying.
Maybe I'll send somebody. Do I have to go in? Can we just send the actors over and just send it to me in a text, fire me in a text. I don't actually want to be there.
I feel like I always head into camera tests just going, well, today might be my last day. Let's see what happens.
I'm with the sunglasses. I'm with the big sunglasses. You're like, oh, sweating.
So how many times did you get to test that before that camera day?
One.
One time.
Not a lot.
Okay.
Not a lot. But for this one, this is the first time where I have ever actually told production that I insisted on, it was hard because it was on a child, right? So everything was, that was the biggest challenge of it. It had to happen in under 25 minutes, no makeup involved. Somehow I was brave enough to say I can do this without, it's again, stupid, arrogant. I was in a bad place in my life. I don't know what else to say. I actually insisted on getting the wig maker flown in to be with me.
Yeah.
Because we're shooting, if it was going to go, we were basically shooting 24 hours later.
Right.
So I was like, I need him here for adjustments.
just in case.
Yes. So, we can put a couple of extra hair on. And also, because it was a 3 millimeter long, I was more scared. I like to color myself, but I found that made me nervous, coloring on that short piece by myself, where I could see all the lace was basically on camera, right? So I wanted my wig maker, and I also wanted him to hold my hand.
No, totally. And I
was like, he's guilty.
Yeah.
Like, he did it. Like, I was like, maybe we go down together if it's going to be really painful.
But it's just having that person to bounce off, to just be like, I was thinking I was going to do it this way. What do you think? Like, how would you approach it? Like, what shall we, also, so you can kind of plan together. You can't. I couldn't see it. It's so short that when it's on the block, I can see the drawings on the block right through the wig, right? The wig was completely transparent. Knowing exactly how are we gonna see scalp through this when she has hair down to her butt underneath in brown, but without makeup. Yeah. That's hard. Like, I was like, that's, that's the part where I was like, we were showing on these different silk in very strategic areas, because if we went too close to the edges, you could see where the wig was sewn together. You could see the seams inside the wigs would pop. Yeah. And so it was just this little, I don't know how to explain it, but this little layer of like 3 different silks to also have that effects of just, we wanted to see scalp right at the crown. We wanted to see scalp like right when you look into a bust cut. So it's not too dense. And I was nervous about if there was too much or too little hair on the wig. It's such a fine balance. Yeah, because you can imagine if it was too full of hair, just so you could cover all those things that you're talking about, you'd just be like, what is happening? I mean, because you're matching something that people have already seen. That was the worst part almost. It was that the front was really hard, since it's, you, like you said, you've already seen her with bust hair. So I couldn't just make up something that was easier for us to do, which is normally, you cheat. I mean, you cheat as much as you can. Totally. And I was like, oh my God, I have nowhere to hide. Like, what am I going to hide between? But also I learned that actually the wig is almost 2.5 tone lighter than her own hair, because otherwise it just looked like a bear skin, like sewn onto her head. It looks like a hat, like a helmet, like a swim cap. So it had to be lightened last minute. That was intense, as you can imagine. So you lightened that, like, was that after the camera test? Yeah. Right. That 2 hours, and then I begged to see if I could get her back into shooting. It was not a real camera test. We had already been shooting for about 5 months at this point. Right. So, they were shooting, and I just put her into the scene that they were in the middle of shooting. Like, there was not even lit for my wig. That was another thing that was really, really difficult, but it's... I was just thankful that they were willing for me to see it on camera. Well, yeah, I mean, it's to their advantage to do that as well. I know, but it doesn't always work like that, does it? No. Sometimes I'm doing this for you guys, and they're like, no, but you'll go home and think more about it and just nail it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I find I have to kind of, I have to fight a little bit to really get to see my actors on camera sometimes, which is amazing. I get to see them on top of a show, but then with Stranger Things, for example, when we shot for 2 years, like whoever there was not shooting the first 2 weeks, which was 95% of the actors who did not have a camera test. Yeah. Because they didn't want to fly in. They're doing other things. Or maybe it's not the actors. I don't mean it's on the actors, but maybe production is not flying them in. And if wardrobe is not ready, then I don't get them. I've learned the hard way. It's very difficult to get an actor if the costume designer is not needing them
yet.
Yeah. I mean, so many things do come into play. It's
but this one, obviously this one they wanted to see on camera. They really did not want to do the buzz cut. So I think they gave me the courtesy because I probably seemed sad and pouty, and I was so gung-ho about it. but they were like, we're not going to shoot this because we can't. She's in too much of the show, and we can't afford to fix it in post at all. So if it doesn't look good, they were like, if it's not like 99% there, it's a no. And they pretty much told me it's going to be a no, but we're doing it because we've been doing this dance with you for 8 years, and you seem very. I really, really felt like it was so important for the story.
Yeah. So what would have happened? Would she have actually had to shave her head again, or if they weren't happy with it, or was it
that
just
ponytail was going to happen?
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. They were just like, we're just going to give her a ponytail because, I mean, in the end of the day, I mean, they wanted that, but you can't really, you can't. The thing about a buzz cut is you can't really do it in post. You can't like get that head shape right in post. So, and they didn't believe that it could happen within the kids' hours, and there's just too much on the line. And they were like, if it doesn't work, it can also make the season into a joke, right? So right at the camera test, I did feel these $300 million like weighing on my shoulders a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely.
I was like, wait, we're not at NYU, are we? Shit.
And now you just need to just feel the weight of, every hairstylist who's now like, fuck, Sarah, now someone's probably going to ask me to do this, and they're going to be like, well, they did it on Stranger Things. I
have gotten 6 phone calls like that already. And I feel bad every time. I'm like, oh, and I actually, it's a thing. Like the producers are telling people now, this is a possibility. It's seen. So I don't know if I did any of us a favor, but I hope I did.
No, I think every advance and every jump forward is the right direction. I mean,
right?
Awesome.
I think so. I think so. I think a lot of people have fun at home with this.
Yeah. I mean, you must have known when it was coming out that everyone would be like glued to the screen, going, "I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it. Where I can't. No, it's I
didn't see it. Like people was like, did you see it? Did you see the show? And I was like, I'm not watching it. Like I was so scared, Jamie, that I just held my breath and was just like, oh God, I can't.
Yeah, you'd be the worst judge. You'd be scrutinizing.
Oh, I see it. I can see it. Like, obviously, I know from, but I find we shoot very close-ups too. I was like, really gotta go this close on her?
Really, guys? Really?
Like maybe a little wider.
Is this necessary?
No, I think it's always really hard for me to watch my own work. Yeah. Like a lot of my work, I haven't watched it. I find it really, really difficult. Yeah. I'm really good at judging other people's work. So if you want to judge, I'm kidding.
No, I try to watch my own stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. I just want to see what, I guess
I've gotten better at it, but it took me a couple of weeks. And I have to say, I read the headlines first. I was like, okay, it seemed like it went through without me getting that award, whatever.
Yeah.
Worst hairstylist, worst wig. I was like, I gotta watch it now. No, I do. It is fun to see. I mean, you obviously. I mean, I watch all the dailies, right? So we do watch because otherwise, I can't see what to improve. Every time we do a look from the first day we shoot it to the last, there's a huge transformation in my work. And any hairstylist, I'm sure, that would like scrutinize my work would be able to very much see how much it changes especially when you shoot for like years, right? Like it's
bound to happen. And it's, you're not normally getting the prep to be able to figure all that stuff out before you start shooting. So of course you're having to do it.
I mean, I have people running around and they shake their hair upside down and just check out the movements of the wigs and the pieces. But in the end of the day, when you start really having people hanging upside down for 5 hours at a time, obviously stuff is changing, and you figure out better products to use or stuff that lasts longer. I mean, you never stop working on a person, I feel like. I'm always like, unless it's a very set look, right? But what I've been doing the last 10 years has been all about movement. So maybe one day I'll do 1950s or something, and then that will be a whole new experience. Like right now, I've been working
movement in the 50s, though.
Yeah, but you have roller sets, and there's a lot of hairspray, and you don't want like a lot. I love flyaways. Like I love when stuff is gritty and it looks real. But the 50s, I mean, you were like really, if it's a dance in the 50s, it would be pretty polished, right?
I guess it depends on the story.
Yeah, I saw your 1920s. That was not very polished. I was like, that's the movement I'm talking about. I'm like, that's a wig that moves. Love that. I love movement, and I just loved how it was frizzed in all the right places, and that stuff makes me very happy.
Yeah, it makes me happy too. I will say that, we tested a lot of stuff, and when Damien decided that our lead lady was going to have long hair in the 1920s, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get fucking murdered by my peers. Every hairstylist is going to be like, what were you thinking?
Especially with the character that she's a rebel. She's a rebel,
it's just like,
right?
come on, it totally goes with the character. And women did have long hair in the 20s, guys. It's not...
They did, but that girl, I was like, she's a fucking hillbilly. Does she know? She came in with the fucking train. I was like, I bought it. I thought it was good. Yeah. And I thought it was great because of the way that it's moving. I do think it's all about, selling, like making it feel alive. As long as it becomes alive and it's organic, then your design is your design. There's tons of different people all through centuries, all that have done the opposite of what there was in fashion, and for different reasons. And you were dealing with a very complex personality, to say the least. I mean, she has some serious problems. Yeah.
I think what's awesome too about just being able to sell that head of hair is just when you are lucky enough to have an actor that is confident in a wig and can sell it, that they're not scared to touch it, or they, when they're working with it on, that they feel that it is their head of hair and it's part of them, and it can just make such a huge difference.
But don't you think that's part of also about how you treat the wig and how you work with the actors with the wig on? Like, I feel for me, when we are working in prep and we're doing all these wig tests, right? I feel like half of it is kind of waiting. Sometimes you get lucky, and I have been having some characters come in like 6 times for me to keep working on the wigs if they've been in town and willing and excited about it. And there's like a moment where I feel like they light up and they start touching it. And I don't know, you can almost see it in their eyes, like when they feel, and I'm like, okay, now I'm there. I'm finally getting there.
Like, they believe it. They look in the mirror and they believe it.
If I can't convince my actor that it's their hair, then I just know it's not good enough. Like, I definitely had moments where I was like, I don't think I can take it any further. And I think it feels pretty perfect. And then I'm like, we're not done though. And I you go home and you're like, what is it? What is it? What else can I do? What do we need to do before his hands start putting his hair behind his ears and he does normal stuff you would do with your hair and not look like a cutout board, like they get stiff or something.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. It's I feel like there's a lot of fear around it as well, of not letting actors touch their hair or their wigs, because I don't know where it kind of ever comes from, but I do remember going in to reset something on Margot, and I just kind of just said to her, I was just like, oh, lady, the hands and the hair. And she's like, do you want me to stop doing it? And I was like, no, I love it.
Right.
Like, please keep doing it. It's amazing. And she's like, oh, yeah, great. And it was just like, she was waiting for me to tell her off, to be like, yeah, could you not touch it? You know, it's just like, but I'm like, has somebody said that to you in the past?
Look, I mean,
because it's just like, it's your head of hair, baby girl. Yeah. Do whatever you want with it.
You're dancing. You're dancing.
It's your character.
It's your hair.
It's
your hair. It's not, the moment we give it to them, it's theirs, right? They take it, and I have very mixed feelings about continuity. Not one of my favorite things, in the sense that I just sometimes don't believe in full on control continuity. Like I'm not a big believer in hairspray because of it, because I feel like it takes away the natural movement. So it looks silly if you're outside. And I like the flyaways, and I feel like that's what sells everything. You know, did you see blue is the warmest color? I
think I did. Yeah.
You're like, what? She keeps
it was a while ago, though, yeah.
It's a while ago, but I've always thought about this a lot. And sometimes when I talk with directors about how we're going to go about continuity and what exactly matters. I mean, how much do you want me there? How much are we going in? Do you want me to step away? Am I designing something that can just be let loose and you don't have to see me for 10 hours? Are we designing something where I'm going to be with you and you will point at every little hair that don't match? Like, who are you? Like, tell me who you are before we really start designing all the cast members, you know, so it all goes together. So everybody has a good time on set.
Yeah.
Blue is the warmest color. This girl keeps putting her ponytail up and down until a bun through the whole movie. It's absolutely bonkers. And I was like, how the fuck did they shoot this? You know, I guess because, I mean, it's obviously not in the script. And it's literally just like she puts her hands up in her hair and she redoes her bun. And she does it, you know, but she does it so much that it doesn't matter. And they have it all over the movie. So they just cut. It's all, the editors just went and found it. So now it's up, now it's down, up, down, up, down. It's absolutely, you should watch it. It's could be a continuity nightmare, but because it just happens over and over again, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's a consistency to it. So
it's the same with the ear tuck. People freak out. She puts her hair behind her ear. And I'm like, yeah, but you're going to, you know, that's a tick. You're going to go in every time this woman has a tick. And they tend to do that tick right at action, by the way. So you're kind of fighting an uphill battle, right? You're stressing yourself out completely with something that's never going to be in your control. Instead of being like, you know, if you actually just keep messing around with that hair and they just do it nonstop, they'll do it in the takes. And then if it matters to the director and, you know, if it matters to the scene and it gets distracting, they have the tuck in there. Yeah. As long as they have the footage. I don't know. I just believe in performance and that stuff seems organic and natural more than the perfect continuity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I think with experience, you learn when to let it live and when you need to go in. And then whenever you're not sure, you check with somebody. You check with the script supervisor or the director, you know? Yeah,
I just put it into the notes and instead of, you know, messing with your actors as in character and
especially in some really heavy scenes where it's like full on and emotional and stuff. It's just like, you got to just be ready to.
But also in wigs, right? Because wigs is if you start telling them not to touch that wig, they start getting like a really weird relationship to their wig. They think it's about the wig and not about continuity. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah. That makes sense. It does.
Just a philosophy.
I want to ask you a question, and the question does relate to wigs, but for any hairstylists that maybe don't feel like they have enough experience or knowledge with wigs, how would you recommend they go about getting more? Because, I mean, you started so early on with the training that you came from to then be able to continue on with that.
I always wish, though, I had done a couple of years in the theater.
Right.
I really, really, and if I had been having working papers the day I landed in New York City, I would have gone to Broadway.
Yeah.
And gotten that experience. And I think it's a very, very important experience to have that, to do roller sets every day, to really hold all these wigs and to learn about everything from synthetic to, definer wigs to the theater wigs, from the laces to the hair types. And I would have loved to do that instead of like, I felt like it sometimes was a long road of like figuring stuff out. I would have loved to work under a good department head when I was young. But, it's tricky because you do. But that is what I would recommend. I would recommend going and working for somebody where you admire their work, and do some Broadway training. And then also just not be afraid of wigs. Like I feel like a lot of people that comes from, come from that fashion background and they are very, very scared of fake hair. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I'm like, don't be scared of the wigs and the pieces. And I think as long as you actually love them, since like and take care of them, they're not going to get harmed. They're stronger than you think. They're strong. Just go about it and then surround yourself with people's work that you admire. Like I kind of did it the other way. I've always hired people that I think there's better than me at certain things and that I have learned from. I've learned from, the people that I put on my teams.
That's awesome.
In all different positions. I think the team that you build it's important that you have like a very big assortment of different talents and personalities.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. So if I had you in your trailer, you're all set up, ready to go for the day, what one tool or product would you freak out about if I came in and took it off you? What would you never want to work without?
I use my hands a lot more than I use. I mean, you can't. I'm thinking. I do like a good mousse. I love hair mousse. I think it's very underestimated because you can set something and you can let it loose afterwards and you can feel like you're brushing it out, but you can get anything to hold the shape that it has dried into. I think that's a brilliant product that people often think this mousse is something you put in a perm in the 80s. And I'm like, oh, these things, you blow dry them. You can get the most amazing blow dries that last for weeks, so I think a mousse is a really important thing. And I'm thinking about what do I have at my station? My station is spare. I have very few things at my station. My blow dryer, but I could also have the wig dryer and probably do more with the wig dryer. What show are we on? I am not big on curling irons. I don't like to see a curling iron pattern in people's work or my own work. I like rolling it on my fingers and kind of doing like old snails, so you can control completely where the hair lays. Yeah. So probably I would need pins. I would need those little silver pins to hold stuff. Okay. And then it could naturally dry that way in my mousse.
Yeah. What kind of mousse do you like? Like, do you have a favorite go-to?
Yeah, I love Kevin Murphy bodybuilder mousse. It's light enough that I feel like it can disappear. And I don't like I don't like anything sticky. I don't like to feel product in hair.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Absolutely. That's awesome. And Sarah, tell me, what one person would you like to hear on the podcast?
I would love to hear from Linda Armstrong. She's British.
Okay. What does Linda Armstrong do?
Yeah, she's, hair and makeup, but I guess she would call herself a makeup artist, probably.
Yeah.
Is that what British people do? I guess they're both, right? They get to have the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think she's really brilliant. And I met her working in Lithuania a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. She does really beautiful, brilliant work that I admire a lot. But she also worked outside at night in minus 20 degrees for me without complaining. And that is like a miracle. I don't know what's wrong with her, but I think... She's amazing. She's amazing.
Like,
and
what is wrong with you? Why do you not complain?
I'm nothing. She didn't say anything. Like you couldn't, take your scarf down. Everything, my eyebrows was frozen. You had snot frozen around your nose. It's in the middle of the night. And she just laughed. And I was like, wow, that's hardcore.
That's awesome.
And kept working. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I don't know if I can actually take my gloves off. Like it's just like, and I've seen her. She's been a personal for many years, and now she's department heading, and she's doing some really cool movies that's about to come out. And I would just love to hear how she thinks about who Linda is as a person, since she's obviously tougher than me.
It's cool. I like it. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. I'm so glad we finally got to do this, and it's been really fun.
Thank you for having me. And it was so lovely to meet you, Jamie. I adore your work.
Oh, and I you.
Beautiful, beautiful wig work.
Oh, thanks, lady. Okay, Last Looks crew, thanks for listening. And remember, if you love it, share it. A quick scroll down and you'll find our show notes. Or maybe you'd like to give your support and leave a 5-star review. Go on, I know you want to. Search the Last Looks podcast on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, whichever one tickles your fancy. And a massive shout out to the husband, Brett Stanley. Without his patience and tech support, this whole podcast situation simply does not happen. And cheers to Liliana Rose for her fabulous voice acting talents. Okay, Last Looks crew, that's a wrap for me. I don't need to be told twice to get out of here, so bye. I'll catch you on the flip side.
That's a wrap, people.